everybody. Welcome in tonight. I am so glad you guys are here. I have such a wonderful show for us tonight. We're going to be talking about a local cryptid right out of North Georgia, not too far from where I live. And it's something that I just kind of heard about not too long ago. It's from a battlefield up in Chickamauga, Georgia. A very famous, bloody Civil War battle happened there. And we're going to get into that tonight. Okay. Well, and I also have Barry Littleton here with me, one of my favorite sidekicks. He's here. We have a lot to discuss. My data was really out of this world on this target tonight. Okay, so if you guys would like to follow along with what I do and my shows here, go to my website. It's thecryptidhuntress.com. And you guys can find all of my shows there. There's links to my shop, War Woman Goods, and my Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. You guys can find all of my remote viewing data there. And I did just post all of my data today for this target on there, along with a whole bunch of pictures, and all the pictures and things that I show here on the show are all in my Patreon as well for your viewing pleasure. Okay. But yeah, y'all please, I would love for y'all to join my Patreon. I have a great Patreon family. Thank you to all of you who have joined that and are members. It really helps me out and it keeps me going here. And it puts a little pep in my step. Okay, so I appreciate all of y'all. Also, I would love for y'all to come join me. I'm going to be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. It's on the ticker down here. April the 1st. That's at the Dillard House in Dillard, Georgia. And then I'm going to the Spaced Out Radio Fan Party. That's in Las Vegas, Nevada, May the 19th through the 21st. And then I will be at Grafton, Illinois at the Journey to Truth Conference. That's with Tyler and Aaron of the Journey to Truth podcast. And my guest tonight, Barry Littleton, will be there too. We're both going to be presenting at that conference. And I can't wait. Also, if y'all are, still up tonight at 12 a.m. Eastern, I'm hosting Spaced Out Radio tonight. So I'm taking over the captain's chair. Dave Scott is out of town. And all of us co-hosts, I guess just me, Marquise is taking over Monday, but I'm gonna be taking over tonight and tomorrow night. And I have some great guests. So y'all come join me over at Spaced Out Radio tonight. Okay, if y'all on the West Coast, you got it good. Y'all can be there at 9 p.m. But I got to be there at 12 a.m. Okay, all right. Well, let's get to our show tonight. Totally. Let's get to our show. Let me pull that, take that off. Okay, and let's get to it. All right, we're gonna be talking about old green eyes tonight. Okay, and this is something I was thinking, like, old green eyes. That sounds like a witch maybe, or a ghost or something. I don't know if ghosts have eyes. I think they do. I've seen some ghosts that had eyes. So this thing, I'm going to read about it before I bring Barry up. Okay, it said that there is an ancient entity or creature that roamed the bloody Civil War battlefield at Chickamauga in North Georgia that locals have named Old Green Eyes. It was seen among the dead on the battlefield, wandering from body to body. Some say it was the spirit of a fallen soldier who lost his head in battle, while others say it could be a Sasquatch or a witch. Native American legend says it is an ancient creature with green eyes, long, beautiful hair, and sharp fangs, and it wandered the area predating the Civil War. Regardless, over 34,000 soldiers lost their lives on this site over the course of a 3-day battle in 1863, and the land is saturated in the blood and the suffering of many men. Chickamauga is a Native American word for river of death, and that title describes its history well. The area is full of orbs, ghostly cannons, soldiers yelling and moaning, suicides, and creepy fog that rolls through the field with something very sinister lurking in its cover. I've remote viewed old green eyes, and I've determined exactly what I think, what my data suggests, is lurking around the Chickamauga battlefield. And to help me go over this data tonight, I have my friend Barry Littleton here with me. Barry Littleton is a very accomplished researcher extraordinaire. He's my go-to when it comes to a lot of paranormal topics. And he's an experiencer. He's had experience with ETs and had ET contact most of his life. And he's just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm so excited that he's here with me tonight. Thank you guys, everybody who's in the chat tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here. Help me welcome to the show, Mr. Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Boom. Hey, what's up, Jessica? How's it going? Thank you for having me again. It's an honor to be here.
Well,
And hello to your wonderful audience. It's been a
thank
very interesting
you.
few days, so I'm appreciative of everyone, definitely.
Well, thank you
I
for
can't,
being
can't remember
here.
everybody's name looking over here. This Aussie Sue and I think Strangeland. There's a lot of good people.
Oh,
So
yeah. I
thank
have
you
the
all.
best audience ever.
Much
I
love to
do.
everybody.
Yes. And speaking of Aussie, I've got two Aussies on my show tonight at Spaced Out Radio. And I'm actually really excited about that. The Strong Brothers, or I guess they're brothers, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
I
related.
think their dad's in there too somewhere,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I didn't get to
Um,
meet them when I was in Australia, but interesting guys. They're kind of bringing
yes.
the whole thing that is the Black Pleiadian thing. That's some of those Aboriginal artifacts. It's challenging the out of Africa hypothesis.
Oh
Fascinating
yeah.
stuff.
It is.
So,
I was doing my research today on the gentlemen and some of their work, and they have these stones that I think they're ET. Okay, I think there's some kind of ET technology that they have in their possession right now. So we're going to be talking about all that tonight. It's kind of like not my specialty. UFOs are not my specialty, but I've experienced them. And yeah, we're going to be talking yowies and all that stuff tonight, and little people. It'll be fun.
mhm.
So yeah. Well, Barry, let's.
Always cool.
Uh-huh. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I've been told, like, when I've talked to several people, especially people like Tom Powell, he very much said that the Yowie was comparable to the North American Sasquatch, and a lot of things are being blown out of proportion. So that's he dealt with one of the people that was a Yowie guy over there. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Food for thought,
yesterday I did
definitely.
a show on the Vietnamese rock apes. And I had a friend of mine who came on the show and told his account. I mean, I've never seen any interview of an actual Vietnam combat veteran speaking on the rock apes attacking them. And he came on and he talked about his rock ape experience in Vietnam.
Hmm.
So that was cool
I got to
and
check that out. I saw a
very
little bit
similar
of
to
it, but not all
Sasquatch.
of it. Hmm.
Yeah,
I,
very
I heard you
cool.
all mentioning orang pendek, and
Yes.
fascinating. I've always been interested in orang pendek since the '90s.
Yes, yeah. They're all very similar, very similar. Um, just like humans, we're all humans, but we're all different, And according to what region we
That's for
live in,
sure.
right?
No doubt.
Pretty much. Oh, Robbie's in the chat. What's up, Robbie? Hey, thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for being here. Okay, actually, I think Robbie and I have discussed Old Green Eyes when he's been on my show. It is a local legend around North Georgia, and I think we kind of might have touched on this when we were talking about Corpsewood Manor last week. That really scary place. Craig Jackson was on here with me, who's been to Corpsewood with me, and this Old Green Eyes is within like a 15-20 mile radius of where the Corpsewood Manor is, Barry, and it's an area of very high strangeness, and there's a lot of it's just haunted. What I looked into at Corpsewood Manor is that land was cursed. It requires blood, okay, which is really weird. But there's a lot of death and destruction there. A lot of death and rituals and sacrifices and stuff go on there. So it was kind of fitting that there's some kind of weird entity hanging out at the battlefield there, even to this day. Okay, and I was reading up on this place. There's actually to this day people commit suicide out there, and it may not be like often, but it happens. Um, so yeah, I've actually got a picture of a
I think that's
tower.
somewhat common on battlefields, as
Yeah.
haunted as they are. I mean, they're horrible places for not just portals to form, to all the the trauma that goes on there, and the bloodshed. It's a perfect place for trauma to form, for also not just earthbounds, but also poltergeists and phantoms. It's a perfect place for that. So it's tragic,
A lot of suffering. Okay. And okay, so let me give a little background of Chickamauga. We call it Chickamauga. It's spelled Chickamauga, but all of us locals call it Chickamauga. Okay. And so let me give you a little history. I'll pull a couple of pictures up while I'm talking about it. Okay, so in 1863, September the 18th through the 20th, 125,000 men fought in a battle on this field, okay, in this area. 60,000 northern soldiers and 65,000 southern soldiers. 34,000, around 34,000 men died within a 3-day span on that land right there. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. 16,000 northern soldiers died and 18,000 southern soldiers died. They say the South, I believe they were referring to the South kind of winning the battle because the North retreated up to Chattanooga after this happened, but there was so much bloodshed, so much suffering. They say that the bodies were laid out on the field for months before they were all buried because there were so many you couldn't even walk on the battlefield. Okay, it was just a big old graveyard of just bodies stacked on top of bodies out there. I was watching this video and this man had said that there was if you buried the bodies 19 deep, it side by side it would go on for 4 miles. 19 deep. I mean, that's a lot. Okay. Okay. So when it comes to green eyes, and that's a very, very sad thought, but green eyes began to be seen. Okay. On the battlefield. And now I believe the Native Americans had been having, interactions with this green eyes for quite some while. They say that it's ancient. Okay. But during the war, right after the battle, this thing started walking amongst the dead bodies, and it was like had green glowing eyes. Some people said that they thought maybe it was the ghost of a soldier who had lost his head, who had been decapitated, and he was looking for his body. But the Native Americans said it had always been here. It was kind of an evil entity or an evil creature that went way back. And if you go there to this day and you ask the park rangers about it, they deny it, really. I mean, unless it's somebody that you know, if you're in good with one of the park rangers, they might tell you a little inside scoop on what they really think, but they pretty much kind of deny it. But yeah, there's a highway near this battlefield, like a road. I don't know if you call that a highway. That's more like that's a road there. But it has a sharp curve in it, and sometimes people claim they see these green glowing eyes like this as they're rounding that curve. And there have been multiple accidents right here at that curb in the road. Rangers say, okay, there have been people who have gotten the park rangers to talk, and they say that it's they say that whatever it is, it comes out of the fog. It hides in the fog, and it has long hair and it has fangs. Okay, that's what the rangers will say. It stays in the fog.
Okay. Isn't that interesting?
Which sounds really interesting because we've looked into another remote viewing target that you gave me, a blind target that was the Yellowstone Whispers, the Lake Yellowstone Whispers, and the fog at Yellowstone Park that has Gugwe in it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's how they covered themselves.
That's exactly how that thing is described there. Is exactly like that, using the fog to mask itself. And the only thing different between what Duke Sullivan calls his Gugwe, that I think, and the Native Americans called face eaters, is that one in Yellowstone is known to actually break people's necks and leave their necks completely reversed, their heads turned backwards. So still horrible nonetheless, carnage.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the people that go there say that this really dense fog will creep in over the battlefield, and it's just unreal. They say it feels unreal. It's very creepy. There's also this one tower. It was put up as a memorial, kind of. It's called Wilder's Tower. It was erected in 1904. It honors Wilder's Brigade. These men saved thousands of lives. I think 2,100 men had held off about 14,000 men, long enough for the Union to. They retreated and they saved a ton of lives. But this tower has suicides that happen there. I don't know if people go up to the top of it and jump or what, but people commit suicide around this, according to what I was reading about. And so Yeah, a lot of death. A lot of death, which is, it seems kind of unusual to me, but considering the sadness and the energy that's here, and I'm going to get into my data because I did 2 targets on this one, and it's actually not shocking once we read my data. Okay, and once like Barry, like you said, there's a lot of suffering. It's not surprising that it seems to be kind of, I don't want to say evil, but just kind of ominous, and like just like Corpsewood Manor that's right down the road from there. It's almost like the land's alive and it's wanting blood and stuff. And that sounds really weird, but it's just
That's
that was in my
actually quite
data.
accurate. That's quite accurate. And people that are real familiar with haunted locations, especially like where I live, there's so much Native American bloodshed was here in the past that it just comes out of the land. And you can get a property on a piece of land that's sacred land, and I mean, it's hectic in there. So I mean, and it's hard to even clear those places because it keeps coming out of the land itself, not just the body of the house and phantom image or energy or anything like that. It comes out of the land. It's extremely hard to clear.
It is. Craig's in the chat. This is Craig Jackson, Low Range Overland. He's the one who did the show with me last week, y'all. That's Craig. Top of the evening to you too, Craig. Thank you for being here. So yeah, we know you can feel the energy when you step out of your vehicle. Okay, when you go to a place like Corpsewood Manor, or you go to a battlefield. I mean, there's a battlefield. I have several battlefields near my house. I have Kennesaw Mountain battlefield. I have Pickett's Mill battlefield. I have I think it's called Kolb's Farm, and there's a whole bunch of Civil War battles fought around my home. I'm in Georgia, and we've had a lot of bloodshed, and this place is not very far from my house. Chickamauga, it's probably, I'm going to say, like 2 hours maybe from my house. So when you get out of your vehicle and you go, these parks are actually places, they have walking trails and running trails and stuff. You can hike up the mountains, and I've gone plenty of times. I've been to Chickamauga, to that battlefield before, and it's beautiful in the daytime. I don't know about the nighttime. Okay, I've never been out there and did it overnight there before. But there's something pretty ominous about places like that. Okay, so I actually, when I was in high school, I'm going to say I worked, okay, but one of my friends, her father had a film production company, and I remember going to work with him, and he filmed Civil War reenactments, okay, for like a channel, like History Channel or something like that, and so I would get up at the, I'm gonna say the butt crack of dawn. That's my phrase, okay. And I would, before dawn, I would drive out to these when they were doing the Civil War reenactments, and we would start filming. We would film the soldiers waking up in the mornings and the roosters crowing. They take that seriously, okay. If you guys have ever been to a Civil War reenactment, the people who do those take them very seriously, and they get all the details down to a T. And so there was some very almost kind of traumatic stuff going on there when I would go film these things. There was one down in South Georgia. I think it was in Fayetteville or Peachtree City. I forgot where I was, but they had a house that they actually had used for a hospital during the Civil War, right by the battlefield, and they had a person who was portraying a doctor amputating legs and arms in there, and they made it very real. And we went in and we filmed it, and it was devastating. Actually, it was very sad. And actually, while I was remote viewing, I was seeing that. I was seeing a scene very similar to that. As I started remote viewing, I was seeing body parts getting thrown out of a window, arms and legs, and that has some kind of connection to this old green eyes. Okay. Now, some say old green eyes is a witch. It might just be an entity. I think I might have a couple of pictures here of some. ideas of what people have or what they've seen, what they claim to have seen. And this does kind of look like a witch, or it could be pretty much anything. Look how big it is compared to those men, though. If you look at the size difference, it looks like it just looks like a giant demon or something. Okay. All right, let's get into the data. All right, the first target that I did two. First target I did, I was picking up on, I'm not going to go through all of it. If you'd like to go along with the data, it's on my Patreon. Okay, but I immediately picked up a Bigfoot-like creature for this old green eyes. Okay, I didn't pick up a witch. I didn't pick up like a demonic force or anything like that. I picked up a Bigfoot-like creature. Now, it specifically was saying, my data was coming up with like not specifically a Bigfoot, but a Bigfoot-like creature. I was picking up, of course, Bigfoot. I was picking up a portal. I was picking up multiple portals on this property. Not just one, a bunch. Okay. And I was picking up alternate dimensions too. So something that was, I don't know if the creature's interdimensional, but there are dimensions. And I guess that would kind of explain like the ghost activity and all that kind of stuff that goes on there. It's almost like the dimensions are crossing over right there at that point, at that battlefield.
Interesting.
Now, and I before I keep going with my data, I do have one story that I want to tell. I took my son to Pickett's Mill Battlefield at Halloween about 2 or 3 years ago. They had a Halloween special where you can walk through and they tell stories, and men dress up like ghost soldiers, and it's supposed to be creepy, but it's actually really fun. And as we were leaving that night, we had toured the battlefield and done the Halloween walk storytelling thing. And as we're walking back to our car, cannons started firing. And like war cannons were firing, and it was rumbling through the whole forest, and you could feel the ground shaking, but no one else reacted to it. And it was not part of the show, I can promise you that. But my son and I heard it as we were walking back to our car. We could hear the cannons firing. And so that happens on these battlefields. I can't say anyone else even heard it. I'm not sure, but my son and I did. So there is a residual energy there, and I think that there is some kind of alternate dimension thing going on at these places. Okay, well, I was picking up... It
creates rifts in the fabric of space and time. And people that like grow up around such places like that will be highly psychic and medium also.
Very. Okay, so that was in my data. I specifically have written down on my second target, space and time. Okay, so we're meshing here because I was picking that up when I was remote viewing it. Okay, now it got very sinister in my first target. It became very sinister with what was going on there with this thing. Okay. I think somebody's saying I have an echo, Barry. It may be your microphone over there or the volume. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Not a big deal. It's not bad. Okay. So it got sinister. Okay. And I was picking up on body parts. Okay. Body parts. Like I said, it could, it was reminding me of that video, the films that I was helping to make when I was a teenager on these Civil War battlefields reenactments. But I was seeing a lot of dead bodies, okay, and I was picking up on amputated body parts. I was picking up on a lot of bloody gore kind of stuff, and whatever this creature is, it was taking the body parts and it was eating them. Okay, it was actually eating them, and I was picking up cannibal. Okay, even though if it's not a human, how could that be a cannibal? I was picking up it was eating humans. Okay, it was taking it. It was bulletproof. I picked up that it was bulletproof, and it was hiding in the shadows. It was taking arms, legs, and it was stealing them out of buckets as well. So I'm thinking like that. What I remember from that thing, and I'd forgotten I had done that film thing. Until after, I guess today I was like, oh, wait, I did that when I was in high school. But they're eating and they're consuming the dead. Okay, this thing was actually eating them. So that, and I also picked up, this is going to sound crazy, I was picking up trafficking body parts. So I don't even know what that is. I was picking up trafficking body parts. during the Civil War. Okay, Barry, you're looking disgusted in all of this.
Well, it's
Tell me your
horrible
thoughts.
stuff. I mean, it's terrible. But
It is terrible.
I'm on board with you here. I'm just,
Yeah,
it's kind
it
of like,
is.
the guy said the Gilligan's Island's boat. They were just
Or the rugby
horrible
players
ride
that
that was,
crashed, they
wasn't it?
had to go eat each other, right?
Oh man,
I know.
it's just, it's just the negativity and the darkness of this place we live here. It's horrible.
It
You know what I mean?
is.
And what you're describing here is you've got, no, just go ahead. When you get done, we'll talk about a bunch of the stuff. So I don't want to interrupt,
Okay.
but it is horrible. You're right.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so that was like my more sinister target. Okay, I mean, I was straight up just picking up on it eating body parts. It was there like I think C Duke just said that there was like vultures. It was like a vulture, but it was like a gigantic Bigfoot like creature. Okay, and I did pick up on the eye shine. It had eye shine, and by eye shine's not always a reflective. It's not a reflective shine. It's self illuminating. Okay, and it was kind of a greenish tint. Okay, it was just it was eye shine, like Bigfoot eye shine, that we encounter out in the field. Okay, so the second target, I did the second target. I did another target. I waited like a day or two. I think I waited what was it, about 24 hours or more. I did another target on it, and because I didn't feel like I had enough data on this thing. I wanted more. Um, it's definitely something that creeps around in the shadows. It watches and it waits. It is coming. I was picking up on portal activity again. Okay, so it's coming in and out of portals. This thing does not just live there like in a cave or something. It's coming in and out of portals. Okay, it does hide. I was picking up a lot of fog and a lot of mist. Um, it's a watcher. It stalks people. It has ulterior motives. It does walk on two legs. It's bipedal, and it has something to do with space and time. And that when you said space and time, I was like, wait a second, that was in my data. Um, Something about marching orders, and I was wondering, like, well, is this thing controlled by somebody or something? Which was really interesting because I was getting a family with marching orders is what I got. Okay, you're obviously resonating with that. Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
tell
Yeah, oh,
me.
definitely.
Okay, well then I just got there's not just one of them. There are multiples. Okay, of whatever kind of creature this is. It is cursed land, and that's why it's there. Okay, it's some kind of perpetual curse of that land, and it's just bad juju, and that's why it's there. Something about banned. Something was banned. It was banned. I don't know what banned it. I mean, I don't know what got banned, but I was picking up on something was banned from there. But it gets marching orders from somebody to go out there. And do whatever it does, but yeah, it was taking not only eating their body parts, it was taking them and trading them or something.
You know, it's fascinating. One thing to be said, all right, and the first thing that I pick up on that, like I do with certain species of these Gugwees and
Hmm.
Type 3 Sasquatch, is that I call them mutant species, but in reality, that there's some type of, we talk about AI a lot now. And when you start dealing with things like what Schwarzenegger was, what, a cyborg
Cyborg,
with a
right?
covering, with a human covering. And I'll tell you, these things, right now, these Gugwe things, they sound completely like something that's introduced, one, to discredit the Sasquatch population. And the way you just described this thing, being cyborg like, would also describe the longevity of this thing, how long it's been seen. It's using the portal, so we know that somebody on the other side, who's the prime intelligence that's controlling this thing. It's using the fog, just like the thing from the
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Hmm.
And when we talk about that fog, I want to touch on this again real quick, all right? And that's this thing that's called DOR. We put up a video. I did a DOR video several years ago, deadly orgone radiation. And it's actually the part of orgone that holds nimbus clouds together. Okay, the darkness of it that goes beyond just dust and dirt.
Oh,
It's the darkness, that's that DOR. And I mentioned that I had actually got a little bit not feeling good because I was messing with these cloud busters when I was a teenager, and I didn't have them grounded into running water, a grounding running water system. So they were collecting this DOR, and there were these beings around that I could catch on infrared that were eating on that. People said, were they archons? I don't know. They look like microorganisms, large ones to me though. I mean, but like amoeba-like structures and stuff like that. So that DOR is very, very important to understand. And even to the point of, I gave you some pictures, all right, that were some UFOs that are older ones. This is a very good way to estimate how when older pictures like that's a great one. That's the East Korea picture. Okay, and if you see that black void underneath it starting on the side, on the left side. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, I've talked before how these craft run on life energy, orgone, and some of them will pull it out of not just the crew, but they'll pull it out of water too. But even more important, part of that conversion process, when they use the orgone to actually modify it into a modulation gravitational field, they'll release it around the skin of the craft. And for whatever reason, for several reasons, that orgone that generates that DOR once it's dead has a negative void impact on film emulsions from that era. So when you see pictures this old, it's good to tell if you see that void underneath them if it's real or not. So right there you're seeing that orgone field starting to be generated. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that gravity modulation field being released around the skin of that craft right there. So, food for thought. And it's a good way. I gave you some other pictures. You'll see that again. Yeah. There's another one, old picture. Look at that void underneath. Yeah. That's a real good one. Look at that void on the underneath of that thing.
Wow, yeah. I would have thought that was just a shadow or something.
It's a little more than that. It's got to do with their propulsion and the life energy of especially those craft that are actually alive. Anyway, so that's just another example of DOR. And what you're talking about, we're talking about entities that are using that to mask themselves, and they're using that also somehow to manipulate the portals too, I believe. That DOR is coming, it's very interesting and creepy, especially when you start thinking about who is the prime intelligence that's sending that thing here. Just on the other side of that portal. Who is that?
It makes you wonder. They're getting marching orders. Now, Robbie has a really good point. Let me see if I can find Robbie's comment here. It's about baboons, actually.
Hello, Nana Boss. She's cool.
Hey, Nana. Hey, Marty. Yes. So Robbie says Gugwe look like baboons, and a group of baboons is called a troop. Troops get marching orders. Interesting.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Gugwe do have the muzzle. That is true. The type of muzzle like that. Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, there's also on a battlefield too. So I was
self-illuminating eyes, and also like for example, when I was at that that ranch place out there in Washington, they kept talking about some type of a creature that had been seen that was eating roadkill quite a bit, a large aerial bird of prey.
Oh wow!
But they kept describing this thing as almost being partially cyborg-like. And that they kept being seen eating roadkill. When they say things like that, I started seeing things like weird, like the Transformers, the Dinobots. One of them was like a pterodactyl or something, But all the things of this thing had all the signs of being a sentinel of types,
Wow.
And then we're getting into also the necromancy, the eating of flesh. The hell, the zombie thing. That's getting into those rakes and all those things like that. Where those rakes come from, Sorry, anyway. It's very disturbing.
Robot zombies and mutant Sasquatch should not be combining. Okay, that's just I don't know, but when we're out doing Bigfoot field research, and Craig is in the chat. He's part of my team. We've been out there and we have experienced stuff. We have a place where we had Bigfoot, a lot of Bigfoot activity going on during this one trip that we went on, and we started having a lot of UFO activity in the same spot, and then we were having these red lights. It was almost like robotic or ET related or something in the tree line right where we were having Bigfoot activity, and the UFOs were flying over us. It was very odd. It did seem kind of robotic or something. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on out there, but I do know that there's a whole lot of stuff that's just kind of it's all kind of combined. Now there's probably portals out there. I know that one of our teammates did experience a portal and walked into one out there at one point where we do that research. But I don't know, Barry. These Gugways eating dead bodies. This is a new thing for me actually, and you
And
also hear about dogmen doing that too.
it's interesting. When I had that interaction with the person who's of questionable status now, Corey Good, we talked privately for hours, just him and I. And it's one of the things I asked him. I said, "Tell me what your take on Dogman is."
Hmm.
And he said that they were a galactic species of bounty hunters that trade body parts. He said they specialized in trading body parts. And, I don't know how relative that is, how real it is, but nonetheless, that comes up, and that's one of the time I've heard that. And you had mentioned,
Yeah.
talked about
Okay.
galactic trade of body parts here.
Well,
And,
what if
this
it's a
gets into this whole
dogman
thing.
then? It could be a dogman instead of a Gugway. Maybe it's a dogman. What do you think?
I think that's so comforting, so comforting.
Yeah,
You have no idea.
I think it
Makes
could
me
be a
feel much
dogman.
better knowing that. I'm just
I know.
kidding.
Sovereign Cosmic Wildman made a good point. Barry, you have green eyes. Guess what? I have green eyes. We all have green eyes. We're talking about green eyes. We both have green eyes.
Oh,
That's why I
goodness.
picked this.
Everybody
Just
always wants
kidding.
to know my blood type, too, due to all the intense contact I've had. It's always an
It's
interesting
not RH
question.
negative, is it? You never tell. I know. I'm not telling
If it,
mine
if
either.
it was,
Some
what
people
would
don't
that
know.
tell you if it was?
Um, I think you've told me what it is before, actually. 'Cause we've had these conversations.
It's interesting. I don't know. I try not to pay much attention to that, but I have the characteristics of everything what Mary Rodwell and all those people are talking about. They don't seem to pay much attention to me, but I have all the characteristics of all that stuff. But I think that goes into ego, and it doesn't really matter because we're all just on this laboratory.
It is a laboratory. It is. Now, I didn't get definitive answers as whether this is a dogman or a Gugway, but I think it's something in between a dogman or a Gugway. I was getting more of a Bigfoot type creature, so that would be more towards a Gugway than a dogman because dogman is not the same as a Sasquatch type of an animal or creature or whatever you want to call them. They are actually classified as a dangerous animal by our U.S. military according to their topographic map. So I did a show with Robbie about that actually, who's in the chat. So
It's an interesting comment you just pulled up there. A
yeah,
strange land. I like that person there. Very cool. When you see something like that, and you're seeing actually the craft change before it goes into a density change, before it goes into one of these wormholes, into one of these portals, to go into either another dimension or another universe, and you're seeing it taking on a form that is to its destination also. So you're looking at it turning into a type of condensed light or plasma that's going to conform more to where it's going when it goes through that wormhole, and you're seeing the actual frequency shift as to where it's more material, and then like bolts and nuts to a degree it appears that way until they project that wormhole and then that
okay.
mako, and then all of a sudden they have to change their pattern of configuration, and that's exactly what you saw there. So it's very interesting, what we're dealing with in different types
Yeah.
of travel and the different materials they're using and everything else.
And the
So
quantum field and all that stuff with that, like the wormholes where things come out double the fun,
hmm
double the
hmm
dogmen, double the Gugways out here.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I mean, can you imagine 19 bodies deep for 4 miles? Okay, arm to
that's
arm
horrible.
with dead
That's
bodies on this
horrible trauma.
battlefield.
That's horrible bloodshed.
That's what's
That
out
is
there
such
right
a
now.
saturation. It's never going to be all right there.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? Not until this plan goes through a major shift.
Right.
That's such a that creates such a horrible morphogenic field for humanity.
It
And
does.
thank God for people like people in this group, in this chat, and people that are following the stuff that we're talking about right now that care, that are really trying to change the consciousness of this place, because the collective consciousness of this place is very low vibration. The planet is
Yeah.
tired of it. The planet is reacting to it. It's getting destroyed in the process by fracking and hydrogen bombs and everything else you can imagine. And it's starting to call out to its parent star. And the parent star is acting erratic, generating horrible solar flares and solar prominences and other things. It's like, man, people really got to wake up.
We do. And we have another podcaster, show guy in here. We got D.A. Roberts in the chat. Hey, D.A. He's doing a great job. He and Robbie are over at D.A. Ex Machina podcast and What's Really Out There podcast. Y'all go check them out. Very informative. And they talk about a lot of Dogman reports and Gugwe and things like that. And Bigfoot, too. So, yeah. Prince Arcane says Gugwe suck. Yeah, they do
Pretty
suck.
Much.
I guess so.
Pretty much. I mean, there's nothing good at all. And then knowing what we talked about in that video I did, Mutant Sasquatch, how there's certain places like that habitation in Paris, Texas, they were starting to trying to push out the ones that are more type 1. And that's the first time I start hearing about these Gugwes and having been a couple of them more than just one. And, they were always described by the people down there, said the other ones we could do these gifting with. These other things are monsters. They kept calling them monsters.
Yeah.
I think that's probably an accurate word.
Monsters is an umbrella term, right? On a whole lot of stuff.
Well, if you eat people and you only got half human DNA and you grub it up on people, I think that pretty much classifies you as a monster. I mean, you got glowing eyes, you got fangs, what more do we need?
Exactly. Well, it has to be, and I did find this picture, and I use this for all the show art this week, the past couple of days, and this looks similar to what it looks similar to that, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really get a good look at the face and everything, but I was picking up that it did look more like a Sasquatch. And the Native Americans describe it as having fangs. Okay, so this is what I use. This is not exactly what I saw, but
did you see a muzzle on it?
No, I did not. It just looked more like a Bigfoot to me. I mean, it was more like of a Bigfoot, but it wasn't a Bigfoot. So this was one of the closest things I could find, and it looked ominous. It was really pretty. It was kind of awesome for that show art. So, but yeah, I mean, if it was out there taking the dead bodies, it was going from soldier to soldier, eating them. Okay, I mean that's and I did pick up that there was more than one there.
Look up the term monster. It means what it means. People say silly stuff. They really do. Go ahead. I'm listening. Honestly. But yeah, go ahead. I'm all ears, man. It's just it's a terrible deal. And knowing that now how much of this is with what you've shown in other shows, the government factor now, and how this is being by dark forces carried on. But it's been going on since as far back as the Native Americans have been talking about it with these creatures. It's really horrible,
Yeah, well, the Native Americans say it goes all the way back to the beginning of time, like it's ancient, okay? And a lot of, there's several things that I have remote viewed that are ancient, okay? Including some Bigfoot, okay? There's some things some of these cryptids are ancient, okay? But also these things are going in and out of portals as well. According to my data, it came up in both targets, portals and interdimensional type stuff. But I can only imagine that it's way more ramped up at that area. And I mean, if this thing was seen all during the Civil War, and it's seen occasionally now, but it was seen a lot during after those battles, it makes you wonder when it's active with a lot of bloodshed and stuff like that. Are they it's like a feeding frenzy, or like what's going on?
The demons are always active with the blood. They use the blood to manifest always throughout history.
Yeah.
Well, would you please take that jibber jabber off? That's a silly comment to me, and I'm not going to go into that. I mean, look it up in the Webster. What does the Webster say it is? I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. We can play term bouncing all around. That doesn't do anything.
Well,
anyway,
what are you talking about with monsters?
Yeah, that's just a silly comment to me.
Hey, listen, I had monsters under my bed when I was a kid in my closet.
Would you like that kid? Remember Cujo? He tried to he turned the light off and he jumped from the bed.
Of course.
But in reality,
have something to grab my feet.
Taking the joke out of that though, how many people right now listening to us had to sleep with that closet door closed?
I sleep with my closet door closed today.
And
I
the
still
reason, and if you
do.
really go to haunted houses or listen to what, especially the children will say, well, my friend comes out of the closet. They live in the closet. They come out of the closet. How often that is, and
Your
when you
ghost
start looking
friend.
scientifically, what they call the Casimir effect,
Hmm.
and how real orgone boxes actually started generating through the Casimir effect, which is basically two plates, the energy in between, but orgone boxes are quite similar, and closets do the same thing in houses. So they start building enough energy in there to come out and manifest more. That's why so many ghosts hang out in closets. It's interesting.
Okay, and it's shaped like a rectangle or a cube. Okay, and what else have we've been talking about cubes since the day you and I met. Okay, cubes, the black cube, all the cubes that are showing up
Yes.
now. We're hearing about a whole lot. It's generating power or whatever. That's, I don't know, that term. It comes up way more often than it doesn't these days.
Yeah. And
Manifesting.
and again, like we spoke about, taking things from one dimension to another, like it was Strangeland just mentioned what they saw with that craft. The cube is one way to do that, to survive that transfer in between dimensions. That's the geometric shapes, between
Okay.
more than that, universes. So very
Wow.
interesting. Whoever said
So there's
that was
probably
right
a
about the
cube out
blood magic, it's,
on
it's
that.
terrible. It's very powerful and it's dangerous.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
would.
something very prominent down here on this planet. It's done a lot.
That is actually something that would be interesting to go do on these battlefields, is to go take your thermal imaging cameras, your FLIR, your night, whatever you got, your FLIR, your thermal, okay, and go out there and watch for a cube to show up, just like my team experienced. Because I would think that a place like that, if it's so active, it has all these different portals. I mean, I'm picking up on portals at this place, Chickamauga Battlefield. Go sit out there and look for cubes to show up in your thermal imaging cameras, just like my team did. I think that would be a great place to go look. Maybe I should take my team out there. I don't know.
I agree with that statement there.
I wouldn't go by myself.
Hmm.
I don't
Hey, I
know.
agree with that statement down there. Those are the worst monsters. Where I come from, there was one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, BTK, bind, torture, kill. And, you know, the amount of negative energy that comes out from people like that, and that like disease of serial killing and thing like that, and these horrible people that are monsters, and they die, they don't cross over, and they become something even worse, and they're still down here trapped on Earth. It's really, it's a horrible deal, and I wish, it's very depressing. Sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
sorry. I'm really Mr. Sunshine. I don't want you to think any different, but
Yeah. Lori wants to know if you left your door open at night or did you close it?
my closet.
Yes.
Oh, I
What
had
did
my
you do?
clothes too. I wasn't messing around. I didn't have a problem with the under the bed though. That was all right there. But the closets, you always made sure they were shut. You know what I mean? Just because. And I think it's a natural instinct for most of us actually. Just like some of us that would be unaware that you're so psychic that when at night you're picking stuff up that you have a thing with sleeping with the TV on, even if it's on silent, it's just as on, because that disrupts some of the stuff you get when you're sleeping. It's quite interesting. It
Yeah.
scatters some things. So it's
Yeah.
it's these things like that we don't always pay attention to, that are the subtleties that really matter.
That's
Um,
true.
and you said something else very interesting. The multiple Gugwe's, and then the other person, I can't remember who it was, said the baboon thing. That's on point. You're looking at something like that. They sound like, to me, cyborg type of creatures. Honestly, something that we hear so much about AI now, but that sounds a lot like it there. And it's just really, it's terrible.
But you don't think about AI existing during the Civil War, you know, even though technology is not what we've been taught, okay, and it's all, I don't know, like my guests tonight on Spaced Out Radio are from Australia. They've got all the sorts of interesting artifacts and stuff that go back to the Palladians, they say, and so I don't know. Everything is so skewed right now. It's
You
very
know
confusing.
that's how I found out about them, actually. When I was the guy I dealt with, he was actually relaying. He was good at relaying their information, but that the Aboriginals said that they were placed here from the Pleiades, and the first Pleiadians looked just like them. So that changes things. That's something we don't hear about. That means they were melanin dominant. People say, well, it shouldn't matter in the UFO field. Yeah, it matters. Look at how skewed this stuff is, how skewed these communities are. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? It is important. And if we're going to go on to a type 1 civilization, we got to get past that. What happens when, we got some green and purple people being down here? We ain't going to be able to take that for sure. Some cat people walking around that might look similar to some type of Asians people or something. We don't know. It's going to be hard to accept that and be a galactic type 1 civilization, whatever terms people want to use, the Federation, the whatever. It's really hard if we can't get past this crap now and really not destroy our biosphere.
Yeah.
You've got all these things. It's sad that most of the targets you looked at result in negativity, and either in the past, we say AI in the past, but we're dealing with this place being a laboratory. And I'm going to do a video there was a broadcast by Linda Moulton Howe last week on Earth Files, and she had this gentleman that was a 92-year-old whistleblower, very high in the military, and he said some very serious things. One of them is, we got to get past the grays and the reptilians and the tall whites. We're dealing with thousands of species that come here galactic wise and come to Earth all the time. And he's right. Thousands and thousands. When I was having my experiences in the media, I couldn't find anything that conformed with these beings I was physically encountering. You know what I mean? It really put stress on me, but because they weren't, there's so much going on here, so many different coming here, so many different interacting here. It's real important that we expand our modalities of contact all the way to these Gugwes here. And who is the prime intelligence doing that? Who is the commander of these baboons, as the person said?
Yeah.
I
don't know, but they could be taking orders. There's some kind of marching orders. Yeah, Damien, I have remote viewed ETs before, and actually with Barry not too long ago, we did a show on that. So
Thanks for doing that too.
I don't stay in contact with these beings by any means. I do not want to become a channel for that unless it's just a target every now and then. So, but yeah, I can do that. I can do that. So,
do the extraterrestrials spook you a bit?
Do they spook me? I mean,
I don't like that word. I can't find another term.
I've had them right in front of me before. So, it is. I have to say, ETs do not move like regular people or anything like that. It's very odd. It's not like humans. There's something different about them. They're not. I've never been like terrified, but of course I've been. I'm the cryptid huntress. I don't get scared over this stuff.
You remember how the ETs, those gray looking things, were moving on our friend's film. That was fascinating.
Right.
They were extremely fast. And you know what that reminded me of? They were fast in the way that the Sasquatch is. And when I refer to that, I mean especially because when I was obsessing about albino Sasquatch, where I went to that ranch, I didn't recognize his communication. I've said that before, but that's what it was. Okay, but then when I'm on the property and it's putting these things in my mind, like this, I've seen this Sasquatch doing a backflip, saying it doesn't have a limp. It was crazy. And then I see this thing like MK Davis's channel of this white Sasquatch, and it looks like it's doing a backflip or a back scratch against the tree. I sent that to you. What was it? What was that? And then it moves and it tears off across that land so fast you can barely trace it with your eye.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's someone on my team who has a video of what he called little people, but we determined I think we all believe that they might be aliens or something. They're really, really tiny, and they were scooting around. I guess you call it scooting, kind of like not like your dog scoots and rubs its butt on the ground and that kind of stuff, but it was a kind of like a scooting or shuffling kind of.
Really?
And that's kind of what those ETs were doing in the video that we saw, where they were orbs. They turned into ETs and they ran around. They were shuffling and scooting around, right?
Trip. Yeah, that was a trip.
So
it's a shame. The same people haven't seen that. That's you talk about people don't having evidence. That's great evidence. Goodness. I
Yeah.
mean, that would be something there that any CGI person would be proud of, and it would look much different than that. That it was obvious, not CGI. And these things, and that's what we're seeing right now with this merging as the Earth is changing, doing this pole shift. We're seeing the dimensions starting to merge, the density starting to merge, and how many of these creatures are coming through. We're at a point now that we know, portals exist.
Hmm.
And there's certain scientists, we start looking that up. God, I don't have the names of some other pad, but they're looking up and they're talking about right now weaponizing the portals. That's why I gave you that target. They're way past proving that they exist. It's about trying to control them now. And you see that in the past, the evil forces already know how to do that to a degree. Some of them, they make some of these portals dark, and that's what's done on that land there at Chickamauga.
Yeah. Chickamauga. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know the name.
Chickamauga. Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole lot going on right now. Now, do you think that it has something to do with CERN being turned on? Is that why we're seeing so many cryptids right now? It just seems like there's such an uptick right now in sightings, Barry. UFOs too, and I can't even say I think all UFOs are like extraterrestrial anymore.
They're not.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
not.
think they are.
You've got the interdimensionals, and then you've got what we talked about on the other shows, the crypto terrestrials that live right here with us and are using things like space, so we keep looking out. When the truth is, they live right here within the earth in places that are cloaked. It's very interesting, and that explains a lot. And I think that probably discovering them is upon us too, and that being made public.
Yeah, yeah. I'm reading some of these comments. We are. I think that we could be aliens. I don't know. Uh, yeah, that's something I'm going to be exploring tonight with
Well,
my
we're the
guest.
latest model,
Yeah.
the latest model of Homo sapien. I mean, but you can look and tell that this place, when you start looking, not just galactic but universal wise, almost everything you see on this planet is represented somewhere in some galaxy, somewhere, something as a prime species. That's why you have all these things keep coming up. These different type of insectoids, ones that look like ants, bees, or like grasshoppers, like I've seen, or mantises. You've got these different insects that are, especially in the future, very super advanced prime intelligences, and all that stuff is interacting with Earth, and all that is represented here in this type of library we live in. It's fascinating.
Wow. A big
It's a lot of life,
laboratory.
but look, you've got more alien species than you have grains of sand on this planet. When you start looking galactic wide, universally,
Uh huh.
no way around it.
Wow. Yeah. So if these things are whatever this is, old green eyes, it's coming through portals, coming in and out of this dimension, or into this reality, this third dimension. I can't say it. Third density. um, I mean, they could be coming from anywhere. They could be coming from anywhere,
Hey,
and maybe they
what
are doing
exactly is
some
a
kind of.
tree peaker? What exactly is a tree peaker? What's it? I've not heard that term. As in, like,
Well,
as
you
in,
know what? There's the actually the video that my teammate has, my friend David Pardue. He's got a video of they were tree pickers. They were little tiny. They look like aliens. So I mean, Bigfoots can be tree pickers, but these were little aliens that were kind of peeking around trees.
peeking around. Okay. Oh,
Hmm.
okay. I got you.
And they
I
weren't but
got you.
a couple of feet tall. They were like 2 to 3 feet tall, at the most. Yeah, they were little, and there was 3 or 4 of them.
Were they using the trees to manifest, or
Mm-mm. They came. No,
materializing in and
they
out of
came.
them?
They came running out from somewhere else, and they went and they hid behind a tree, and were peeking out from behind it. Yeah. So I don't know. They're coming in and out of portals, I guess. But
When I was out at that ranch, that field, just can't sleep at night, and that was about the most disconcerting thing, because I would walk by, and there are at least several large trees, and I already know a lot about invisibility, so it's not hard to trick somebody. But I kept feeling like I'm being watched. I knew that was pretty much how, and somebody was standing back against one of those trees, probably huge, just couldn't quite see them, but you could feel it. Tree peekers. I like that term.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
heard that before.
There's a lot of tree pickers. We have a lot of tree picking peeking Bigfoots out in the field too. But well, I think we're going to wrap this up tonight because I am actually hosting Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm going to be up really late, and I have a lot to do tonight before I get ready for that show.
I'll try to
So
tune
Barry,
in.
yeah. So hey, just as in conclusion, Old Green Eyes, it was a real entity. I do believe it was something that was more like a Sasquatch, but different. It wasn't actually a Sasquatch, so possibly a Gugwe. The Native Americans said that it had fangs, and I did pick up that it was eating dead bodies. Okay, it was absolutely eating dead bodies out there, and it was stealing body parts.
Mm,
Okay,
gosh.
so
Mm,
yeah, I mean it's got to eat. It was hungry, Barry. Okay.
yeah.
Um,
So was David Naughton. Remember that? American Werewolf in London. He was
oh
he
yeah,
was hungry too. He had a major appetite.
yeah. Well, I would just recommend everyone be very safe. Okay, if you go to Chickamauga Battlefield, protect yourself. Don't go by yourself at night. Okay, and but I would recommend places like this. Go take your thermal imaging cameras. Go check for cubes and things like that. Like my team has encountered out in the field, because I would think if I did pick up on portals out there, that would be a place where you might catch something like that. So yeah, go look for it. But definitely be careful. And yes, the land is full of blood. There are suicides there to this day. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
but yeah. So yeah, so we've covered Old Green Eyes now, and that was an interesting one. And now we know that there's something probably like a Gugwe up at Chickamauga. So near Corpsewood. I
Yeah.
mean, this could be the same thing that people are seeing around Corpsewood Manor. It's
Yeah,
in the
and
vicinity.
also Yellowstone. That's three type. There's three of them there.
Yes,
You said that
absolutely.
there's many of them. So they're just probably just spread out to using portals. They can be sent from the destination, the prime destination, to all these different places. That's but
That's right.
isn't that wonderful to know that?
Yes, well, maybe they were sent here to get the body parts for the body part trade or something. I mean, I don't know. I know that sounds completely crazy to people. Somebody just tuned in. They're like, "What is she talking about?" That was in my data. It was part of my data when I remote viewed this. That there was some kind of they were taking body parts and eating them. So yeah, and hey, and that's right, Amy. Appropriately named corpse wood, considering
Oh,
that all the bloodshed and things and the battles that were
oh
out there.
God, that
Right.
sucks. That
I know.
sucks.
Well, it's cryptids, Barry. When you're a cryptid huntress, you have to look at every angle of this, and it does involve eating other things. So, and sometimes it's
Corpse
humans.
wood, yeah. That's about as blatant as it can get.
It
Good
is.
lord.
Oh my God! Thank
And,
you, Susie.
it's interesting, like when you watch David Pauletti's things, how oftentimes these people that come up missing are affiliated with, or they come somewhere that's Devil Ridge or places got the word devil in it. People seem to come up clusters in those areas with those names. So I
Oh
think there's a
yeah.
lot to be said of such. I definitely don't want to go to Corpse Wood. I'm good.
Well, it's just down the road from Booger Holler in Rome,
No, no,
Georgia.
thanks.
Okay. Yeah, there's boogers down there. There's definitely boogers. So yeah,
Goodness.
boogers can be just about
Oh,
anything.
boy.
Boogers are just monsters, right?
Well,
The
I mean, so
blanketed
they're not
term.
always negative, right? The boogers, that's more of a term, but
It's
I
yeah.
mean, anywhere where you have a local population of gugwees that with green eyes, I'd rather just avoid it personally.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you see green eyes out there glowing in the dark, just turn around and leave. Like seriously, there's no need to approach it. Definitely don't do that. But yeah, this has been a great show tonight, Barry. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Well,
And
thank you for having me.
yeah, Barry, where can everybody find you?
Um, um, Emails barrylittleton13 at gmail.com. Website's barrylittleton.com. Don't do much with the website, but I am very active on YouTube and also on my Patreon. YouTube is just Barry Littleton, and Patreon is Barry Littleton also. So come
Okay.
on over and hang out.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys please go subscribe and join his Patreon. That would be amazing. Y'all come join me tonight. I'll be on Spaced Out Radio with the Strong Brothers out of Australia talking about some hidden history and yowies and little people and whatever else comes up. I have no idea. But I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you for all your support. And I will see you guys tonight. I'll also be on Space Out Radio tomorrow night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. So y'all get a quadruple dose of the Cryptid Huntress. Actually, it's more than that because I was on yesterday and today too. Okay, I will see y'all tonight. And Barry, thanks again. Y'all lock your doors tonight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. All right, and we'll see y'all next time. Y'all have a great night.
Thanks.